What's going on, everybody? Jordan here, and today I am bringing you five franchises, 5 third-party franchises that would make really good Nintendo Game & Watch systems. I compiled a list here, all games that, although were third-party developed, all really kind of felt like their home was on the NES. If you saw my last Game & Watch video where I gave you guys 5 first-party games I thought would make awesome Game & Watch systems, I also mentioned in that video that I had an entire list of third-party games, which is what we have here. Without further ado, let's get into them. Now, before we get into this list, I'm just going to mention that most of these games have either been re-released, remade, or remastered for other systems later on. In regards to this list, we're going to go with the original games that released on the Nintendo and the Game Boy. Because as I mentioned in my first-party Nintendo Game & Watch video, if they were to make a Pokemon one, it would be the Game Boy games. So we can't forget the Game Boy. It was technically an 8-bit Nintendo system. So number one, this one was mentioned in Discord, in the comments, and it was already first on the list. So I'm not cheating here. This was number one on the list here, and that would be Mega Man. And really, up until the PlayStation 1, Mega Man was always really kind of at home on a Nintendo platform. Whether that was the NES, the Game Boy, or the Super Nintendo, Mega Man really kind of lived on Nintendo home consoles. Mega Man was seen elsewhere. There was Mega Man The Wily Wars on the Sega Mega Drive, which is the Genesis over here in the West. Well, actually, no, because the Mega Drive was in Europe. So, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Basically, everyone got it by us over here in North America. But our system was the Genesis. It was the Mega Drive over in Europe and Asia. So, the only problem that we really run into with Mega Man is that there were a lot of Mega Man games released in the 8-bit generation. And that's between the NES and the Game Boy. Well, on the NES, we had 6 Mega Mans. We had Mega Man 1 through 6. And then over on the Game Boy, we had the first Mega Man, which was Dr. Wily's Revenge, Mega Man 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the question is, what games would you put on this system, and how many would you put? Well, that's a good question. They theoretically could put all 11 of these ROMs on there, but we know Nintendo won't do that. They'd have to pay the licensing for all that. And we already know that Nintendo really doesn't want to pay the licensing on it because if you notice, there's no Mega Man games in the NES collection on the Switch. So it really makes me wonder why. Like, what does Capcom want to charge for these? I can't imagine it being that much. I could be wrong. I personally would say if you're going to do a Mega Man Game & Watch, I would do Mega Man 1 through 3 from the NES and maybe the first Mega Man for the Game Boy. But I'm not a Mega Man expert. I'm not a diehard Mega Man fan. I enjoy the game series. I understand the importance of the game series, especially from old school Nintendo fans. So I'm going to leave this one up to you guys. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe pick like 3 to 5 Mega Man games that you think would be the perfect fit for a Game & Watch system. So next up, we got Contra, which was a game that I played a lot of as a kid on Nintendo. I loved Contra. Contra was an awesome game. There were quite a few Contra releases on the NES. We had the original. We had Super Contra, which is kind of confusing because typically the Super moniker at the beginning of a game would be a Super Nintendo game. And no, this was the sequel to Contra in 1988, long before the SNES. But yeah, it was Super Contra. Then there was Operation C, which was a Game Boy game. Contra 3, The Alien Wars, which this one was a Super Nintendo game, but it did also come out on the Game Boy. So maybe we'll disregard this one, since that same year Contra Force came out for the NES. So really, which one was Contra 3? The one that was obviously titled Contra 3, The Alien Wars, or Contra Force for the NES? I'm not really sure. Maybe this is along the lines of that Assassin's Creed Pirates spin-off game they put out the same year they put out the first Assassin's Creed Next Gen game on PS4 and Xbox One, and they couldn't get it to run on 360 or PS3. I forget what was that called. It was called Assassin's Creed Rogue. That was it. Yeah, clearly a memorable title. So the next one that we got is another requested game, and this one is kind of obvious too. I feel like the first 3 are super obvious. Like when you think Nintendo third party, these are Nintendo third party games, and that's gonna be Castlevania. Now, we got a lot of Castlevania games in that 8-bit generation also. I would say somewhere in between Mega Man and Contra, where it was less than Mega Man, but more than Contra. Nonetheless, we got a lot of Castlevania games. yes, there were some great Game Boy Castlevania games, but I think we should really stick with the NES games here. And that would just be Castlevania, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, and Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. I think if you put all three of these on a Game & Watch, that would be a really heavily packed little handheld for $50. But this is another one of those titles where I am not a diehard Castlevania fan. So if I'm off or I'm wrong and you think that there should be other games included or games left out that I may have mentioned, let me know in the comments below, because the reality is that this is a wish list of systems, so this isn't set in stone here. I think this is one of those things where a community input to really kind of curate the perfect set of games is really what would be best for something like this. So next up, this one, I'm not really sure how many people would actually want this. But for me personally, this is a game series that I played a lot of on Nintendo. Even the first title in the series that is like objectively hard and annoying and difficult to play, and that would be a Ninja Turtles Game & Watch. Yes, I'm well aware that the first game is what it is. Every meme, every complaint about it, it's all true, it's all real. But what we got as a follow-up was Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, which was a perfect 8-bit port of the Ninja Turtles arcade game. Yes, this game is significantly more fun to play with other people, but it doesn't mean the game isn't enjoyable playing it by yourself. So I think that it would still translate well onto a little handheld like this. So obviously include Ninja Turtles 1 and 2. I would then also include Fall of the Foot Clan on the Game Boy. That was a really good Turtles game too. In fact, just as like a side scroller, that was a significantly better game than the original Ninja Turtles on NES. And then if they could squeeze one more ROM on there, I would say put on there Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project on NES. That was another strong Ninja Turtles outing during that generation. Once again, like I mentioned with the other games, let me know in the comments below if you agree with this pick or if there's something else you would want to see on there. I keep repeating that because I want to get your guys' gears. That's a lot of G's in that. I want to get your guys' gears spinning. I want you to think about this. I really want you to put some thought into this because I want to include everybody in this idea because these are kind of cool and they're things that will probably never happen. So it's really like a total wish list of the unrealistic. So next up is another one of those obscure ones that's only obscure mostly here in the West. It's much different in Japan, though, and that would be Dragon Quest. Now, people think the classic JRPG on the Nintendo was Final Fantasy, but believe it or not, Dragon Quest is actually significantly more popular than Final Fantasy ever was. Like, it's really strange, believe it or not, how much more people in Japan love Dragon Quest over Final Fantasy. In fact, there was a rumor that stated that the games used to come out on a Tuesday, and they had to move them to Friday releases because so many people were calling out of work and school the next day to play them. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's one of those theories. I couldn't tell you. But nonetheless, seeing as Nintendo is a Japanese company, and they really do thrive on the handheld market, and that's mostly because they sell so well in Japan where so many people use public transit. I have to imagine that if they were to put Dragon Quest 1 through 4 on a Game & Watch system, that thing would sell really well. And now that like we're more sophisticated over here in the West and appreciate Dragon Quest way more than we probably did back in the day, I feel like it would sell just as well here. I do expect some Final Fantasy fans though to come at me in the comments all pissed off that I would even say what I said. But sorry, I much prefer Dragon Quest. So that was 5. And I think I even said there were 5, but there's actually 6. So we have a bonus. But yeah, last on the list would be the Disney Afternoon Collection. So although the Disney Afternoon Collection is a compilation of older games from the 8-bit era, the term was actually coined about 4 years ago when this collection was put together, released for Windows, PS4, and Xbox One with the original games. So in that original collection, it was DuckTales, which is a fantastic game, and the remake that was actually made by Way Forward, who does the Shantae games, is really, really good too if you ever had a chance to play that. That came out on PS3 and 360, so if you can find yourself a copy of it pretty cheap, which you usually can, I would say pick one up, but I digress there. It also includes Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck. Now, there are other games on the Nintendo that came out that were part of the Disney Afternoon series of TV shows, but they were sequels to already games I mentioned. That would be Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers 2 and DuckTales 2. Kind of unnecessary selections, in my opinion, if you really want to stick to like the core titles. So I think a perfect Game & Watch for the Disney Afternoon Collection would be DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck. Capcom really were killing it on the side-scroller platform games on the NES. Between Mega Man and the Disney games, no one else really touched what they did here. And now that I realize it, we've got 2 major Capcom series of games on this list. So there you go, guys. There was my wish list of Game & Watch systems I would love to see from third-party developers from the 8-bit era. As I mentioned more times than I can count, let me know in the comments below what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong, and what you would like to see differently from what I curated here on my list. Also, if you have a game series that you do believe should have made this list, let me know. I'm really, I'm curious to think of like what other games people really loved. Game series on top of that people really loved from back in the day that could run on one of these little guys here. So if you like this video, make sure you do hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell to be notified when new videos do go live. You'll find links below for social media, including Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. And if you enjoy what I do here, you have a couple different ways of supporting the channel. One would be Patreon. You'll find that link in the description below. But also Teespring, which is just spring. And I keep saying this in every single video. Nonetheless, Punch and Pie merchandise. All my own designs. Prices are reasonable. You'll find that link in the description below. Also, did I just say also like way too many times? Also? Anyways, until next time, this is Jordan. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.